Aetises Bacchion autas egalesen, Espanos, Epicoliada, Esgenetylidos, Udan dieltien äänan juputontium panon, Nynne udemia parestinen tautoi kynää. Benhägemä kometis hädex erketai, Kaerokaloni.
Faculty of Classics has always been interested in doing innovative, world-leading research, but research also that is useful for students and scholars all over the world. And because of that, we've been very proud to be associated with the Greek Lexicon project for the last, nearly 20 years now.
The Greek Lexicon project was founded by John Chadwick, who was a lecturer and reader in this faculty. He wanted to bring to Greek lexicography the methods established by James Murray on the Oxford English Dictionary, and he knew it would bring a wealth of insights, new understandings to our reading of Greek texts. John's thoughts and thinking about this project took shape in the form of a book, Lexicographica Graeca.
Well, as you said, John was a pioneer. There was something extraordinarily adventurous about him. John didn't come with a sense that the faculty would pay for everything because he had these potential donors in mind, but a structure and a home.
Now here is perhaps my favourite word. I call it favourite because it probably took me longer to do than any other word in the lexicon. It's probably the longest entry we've got. It's the verb echo, which everybody knows has the meaning have. But echo is ubiquitous. And can you believe it? Let me see, how many senses have I found for the verb echo? 55. Because what we have done is to try to segregate every nuance of the verb echo. The sections are grouped as follows. 1 to 3, hold by physical contact. Section 4, hold in one's possession. Sections 5 to 7, possess as one's own. 8 to 9, have or carry on one's person. 10 to 12, have in a particular relationship to oneself. 13 to 14, have an abode or location. 15 to 22, have thoughts, responsibilities, activities, states of being, consequences. 23 to 28, have knowledge, ability or obligation. 29 to 36, hold under constraint or restraint. 37 to 39, hold on a certain course. 40 to 49, certain intransitive uses, and 50 to 55, certain middle uses. The idea was, nearly 20 years ago, for one person, Anne, to do the job in 5 years, because our ambitions at that time were very limited. Essentially, it was to replace the intermediate Liddell and Scott. It wasn't until we started work revising the intermediate Liddell and Scott that we realised that we were going up the wrong street. It wasn't revisable because it was so out of date. Whatever deficiencies the big Liddell and Scott published at that time had, it had too. So, just in time before we committed a grave mistake, we agreed with CUP to do something on a much larger scale with them, a decision which we have never regretted.
I've been asked to talk about a particular favourite word of mine, and I've chosen hypodakrous, which means something like tearful or bleary-eyed. I've chosen that word because it's not quite new, but it is a new inclusion for a dictionary at this level. It's in Liddell Scott Jones. It's quoted from Hesychius, who's a 5th century lexicographer and one of my distinguished predecessors. But it was in no classical text until 1997 when a papyrus from Oxyrhynchus was published, and this gave us an instance in the comic poet Menander. You'll be able to see that in the papyrus on screen. Why is it one of my favourite words? It's an adjective in hupo, which means a bit something. And that's interesting in terms of the language of comedy. As far as the history of the lexicon goes, it's interesting because I have no memory of how I found this new word. All I remember is saying to my colleague, I found a new adjective, we better make sure we include this. It's an indication of why our lexicon is important. at which point my colleague spilt his coffee, and we tidied that up, by which time I'd forgotten the story of how I came to make this fortuitous discovery. Also, the word stuck in my memory for its meaning bleary, because my mother-in-law has realised that I'm not that awake first thing in the morning, and so she will address me as Paddy O'Bleary, which always reminds me of the adjective hypodacrus.
In the past, lexicographers worked with slips, writing things down on little pieces of paper and filing them away. Nowadays, we make use of digital technology, and in particular, we make a great deal of use of the markup language XML. XML is an incredibly clever bit of markup language because we put different things in here which tells the machine reader what everything is. So it tells the machine that this part of the word is actually the definition, this part of the word is the grammatical information, this part of the word is any dialectal information or authors. Putting that all together makes a great mess on the page as it looks in XML, but it enables us to produce a beautiful final typeset copy.
Xenos is a foreign man. It's the job of the lexicographer to examine the word in all the contexts it occurs, and to try to present a more coherent picture in a dictionary article of the senses, the links between them, and how they develop. As with English foreigner, there can be a derogative connotation, but more often xenos in Greek is neutral or has a very positive connotation. If you entertain someone at your house or offer hospitality, that person is xenos, and this has a very strong, favourable connotation because xenos was protected by Zeus. So we have here what we might call semantic universals, that there are neutral meanings to words, strong senses, weak senses, specialised meanings, good and bad meanings.
We've only been able to complete the Greek Lexicon project because of the generosity of a wide variety of donors. Donors who have given large amounts or small amounts, some donors who've been very faithful over a number of years. One donor who came into the project, I think only 2 days after it started, was Brian Buckley.
Well, I first became involved with the New Greek Lexicon project 18 years ago. My interest was triggered initially by a short item in the press reporting the establishment of the project, and a few days later I read the article by John Chadwick in the Times in which he explained the deficiencies of the existing Greek lexicons. His comments sparked a chord with me because I remember from my own school days that the lexicon I used then was first put together in, I think, 1847, and it was then enlarged and revised in 1871, and after that it was not touched or modified until I was using it in the mid-1950s. And I thought this was a project which I would like to support, because if students are to be helped to learn classical Greek, they need a decent dictionary of manageable size. I've had the advantage of seeing much of the text of the new lexicon, and I think it's most impressive. It's a splendid achievement, and I congratulate the team on what they've done.